Hello and welcome to Session 3 of the CMF Kairos Security Briefing Series. In this session, we will focus on the laws and regulations, as well as the policies and procedures that govern our behavior while in and around the CMF Vacaville facility. There are different types of rules and regulations that apply to our activities inside the prison. Some of these are written into law and thus have the force of law. Others are the policies and procedures of the institution itself, and while these may not have the force of law, we take them just as seriously and will give them equal attention in this briefing. First of all, let's talk about what is illegal, what is actually written into law with respect to our activities at CMF. First of all, it is illegal for anyone convicted of a felony to enter the prison without the warden's prior approval. We are asked to disclose any prior convictions or jail time on our brown card application. Even with such disclosures, people have been allowed on our teams in the past, but we must disclose everything requested completely. It is also illegal to encourage or assist in an escape attempt from a California state prison. We certainly hope that this is self-evident. It is also illegal to bring any of the following items onto prison property: firearms, deadly weapons, explosives, tear gas, pepper spray, alcohol, drugs, or drug paraphernalia. We want to stress that it is illegal even to bring any of these items onto the prison grounds or property, which includes the parking lot. If any of you have any of these items in your vehicle, you must remove them before entering the prison grounds. An example of someone inadvertently breaking the law in this regard would be someone driving a truck with a rifle in a gun rack onto the grounds, or someone having a smaller weapon in their car, even if it is locked inside the trunk. It is also illegal to give any of these items to a prison inmate. So in the unlikely event that you happened to find one of these items inside the prison, you still may not give one to an inmate. It is illegal to engage in any sexual activity with a prison inmate. This has never been an issue in our ministry at CMF, but has occurred in the context of other volunteer and ministry organizations around the country, and this is why it has been made into a law. It is illegal to give to or take letters from prison inmates. This is a law as well as a matter of CMF and Kairos policy. The letters we write and have brought into the prison as part of our program are brought in unsealed and are subject to inspection by the prison before they are sealed and given to the inmates. This is why they do not violate this law. It is illegal to give a cell phone to a prison inmate. There have been problems with inmates running gangs or orchestrating criminal activity from within the prison, and the penalties for contributing to this problem have recently been strengthened. Governor Brown recently signed a law making this a misdemeanor with a large fine. As we have said, not everything we are expected to comply with has the force of law, but we take institutional policies and procedures just as seriously as applicable laws, because violations of these policies and procedures could jeopardize the continuation of our Kairos ministry at CMF Vacaville. You must have a valid ID for both entry and exit. We will exchange our driver's licenses for a brown card when we sign in, and will exchange the brown card for our license when we exit the prison. Those on a gate clearance will show their license to obtain a pass, and must return the pass and show their license when they exit, so it is critical to maintain full control of these items at all times. It's also important for you to know that CMF has a no hostage policy. In fact, this applies throughout the California state prison system. This means if we are ever taken prisoner, CMF will not negotiate for our release. This is actually intended as a safety measure, since the inmates know about this policy, and knowing this, presumably they will be less likely to ever try to take a hostage. No such incident has ever occurred in the history of our ministry at CMF. It is also important to know that just by coming onto the CMF grounds, including the parking lot, you are consenting to a search of your person, car, or property at any time. So if you have anything in your car that you prefer that a correctional officer or police officer not find, you would be wise to remove it from your car before driving onto the CMF grounds. The warden may bar anyone from entering the institution for cause, even brown card holders. There are a variety of potential reasons for the warden to do this, including violations of applicable laws, policies, or procedures. In addition, there are more subtle reasons that the warden might bar someone from the prison. For example, if you ever find yourself in a kind of advocacy role on behalf of inmates against the prison administration, the warden could decide to bar you from entry. This could even include social justice work that involves taking the side of an inmate in a dispute against CMF or the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation or against any law enforcement agency. We are not advocates for the institution or against the institution. We are advocates for Jesus Christ. We listen to what the inmates have to say, but we do not take sides in any claims or disputes between them and the prison. Finally, visitors may not wear any clothing that resembles inmate or correctional officer clothing, as we have discussed before. Nothing blue, nothing denim, nothing olive drab, and nothing gray. Some other things that are not allowed by prison regulations are gambling, buying anything from an inmate. They may want to sell you or even give you something artsy or crafty that they have made, but you should politely but firmly decline any such suggestions. Other things not allowed are any kind of inappropriate displays of affection, defined as hugging, kissing, or touching any private parts of the body. While these policies are designed to prevent any kind of sexual contact between inmates and visitors, it technically prohibits even hugging between volunteers and inmates. Most correctional officers are very lenient about this in the context of our ministry, and we do not prohibit hugging inside the chapel during the course of our program. But it should never be done in the hallways, and we must always be prepared for a correctional officer to enforce the letter of this policy and order us to stop hugging or even touching. If this happens, we will cheerfully comply with the correctional officer's instructions. Something else not allowed is anything in the broad category of contraband, which is defined as anything the inmate is not supposed to have, including everything on the illegal list, but also items such as chewing gum, tobacco, etc. Even though some of these items may be available to the inmates in their own commissary, they would be considered contraband if we gave them to an inmate because they would not have been screened and approved by prison officials. To make this easy, simply do not give anything to an inmate. Our policy of nothing in, nothing out is the easiest and safest way to approach this issue. Some other requests from CMF to us include locking our cars in the parking lot. The administration does not want to have to deal with theft complaints, and they see unsecured vehicles as potential escape vehicles. Do not sit in your car for prolonged periods of time, as this raises questions and concerns on the part of the correctional officers. Do carry your whistle at all times. This is an important security measure we have discussed in previous security briefings. Also, we mentioned in the last session the importance of maintaining control of all personal items at all times. Any jackets or sweaters you remove while inside the prison must remain in your personal possession or be secured in the chaplain's office as directed by the weekend leadership team. You may not leave them on the back of a chair or on a table or on the floor as you move about the chapel. Stolen clothing items could help encourage and even enable an escape attempt. Do not run while on prison grounds. Do not give personal contact information to inmates. This raises the question of whether we should write to inmates. This is not forbidden, but we do discourage it because we want to encourage the inmates to come to our reunions and prayer and share sessions instead. If you do choose to write or respond to a letter from an inmate that was forwarded to you from our Kairos P.O. Box, we strongly advise you to use our Kairos P.O. Box as your return address. And we do not attempt to forward mail to inmates that has been returned to our P.O. Box. We are continually reminded of the importance of complying with all requests from the prison staff, even if these requests differ from previous requests we have received. And in general, a good rule to follow is, if in doubt, don't do it. If you are uncertain about anything, we would like to say, go to your lighthouse, meaning an experienced Kairos volunteer or weekend team leadership or core team group member. If you want to push back on an inmate request without being disrespectful, you can simply say, I need to check this out with the chaplain or with our weekend leader. This will almost always stop inappropriate requests in their tracks because the inmates generally know when a request is wrong. This concludes our third security briefing. Our next briefing will address how we want to relate to the men in blue or inmates themselves while inside CMF.